I'm joined by Ivan McLelland, who is a world champion hockey goalie. The 1955 Penticton Vs. You're in Princeton to do a little fundraiser. But let's talk a bit about your book, Gold Mine to Gold Medal. Can you give us a bit of a thumbnail sketch on what the title is about and what the story tells us?
Well, since you've asked about the title came out of the fact that as a boy, in my 18, 19 years, I was working in a gold mine in northern Ontario and had some promise as a goaltender and was playing for the local mine team. And I was picked up by the New York Rangers and given a trial and sent to Vancouver. And so the initial part of my hockey career, coming out of a mining town where I played minor hockey, junior hockey, and then finally senior A hockey, was then given an opportunity, and that's how so when I was asked to write the book by family members and many others said, look, this Penticton V thing should at least be documented by someone.
Absolutely.
So I decided to take it on, and lo and behold, 4 years after our very first hockey game, we found ourselves standing on the blue line in Krefeld, Germany, receiving a gold medal for the top amateur team in the world. So that's how the title came about.
All right, so 1955 was the year that happened. It was the Okanagan Senior League that you played for, which was formed in 1951. I'm assuming there was a handful of teams representing Kelowna, Vernon, Penticton, the major centers in the Okanagan Valley. Lots of interlocking games. What was hockey like in that time?
Interlocked with the Kootenay area, so you had something like 8, might have been 9 teams, but there was an interlocking league.
Okay.
What was hockey like at that time? Hockey for me was something that I just loved to do. We did it basically because we loved it. Most of us, in fact all of us, worked at jobs during the day, played hockey at night and on weekends. Now we made sometimes as high as $150 a week, my goodness.
Wow.
And that would have been major money in those days, but we would have earned it by working at our jobs and playing hockey at night.
But you guys were all in your early 20s, so you probably all palled around, you were good friends, and so a fun time to get together and play a sport you all loved.
Yeah, it was fun, but I'm not so sure about about loving one another. That didn't always apply to our hockey team anyway, but we played the game basically because we loved to play it. And the fact that the teams were formed that way. It was, first of all, you had guys from all walks of life. You get guys that were on their way down from the NHL. Grant Warwick, probably, in my view, the greatest amateur hockey player that ever played possibly in all of Canada, was an ex-NHL player. He ended up as our playing coach because he had some personal problems, didn't stay in the NHL. But it was like you had a myriad of different players. Kids like myself at 20 wanting to make a name. My eventual goal was to go to the NHL. Never quite made it, but came close.
So as a goalie back in 1955, the gear would have been different. Were you wearing masks at that time?
No, I never did. In all the years I played, never wore a mask.
So Gump Worsley predecessor in a way?
Yes, same as that. Same as Worsley and Glenn Hall and Johnny
Right.
Bauer.
Yeah, the classics.
The guys that ended up with the hundreds of stitches in their face, which I happen to have.
Yeah. So then let's go back a bit now to the actual book itself. You got asked, as you said, to make it. The book was published. It sold rather well, and now a decision came about in recent years to do an audio version of this, which I think is a great idea because now you're dealing with people who, may be able to listen to it in their vehicle on the run or whatever. So you've gone and you've made an audio version of this. A friend of mine, Kyle Anderson, voiced it for you out of Penticton. The book is coming out soon, and the audio version of it. And so tell us a bit about how that came about.
Well, it came about because of the demand for the book. We only did 1,000 copies of the actual book to read. And they went rather quickly, and I was encouraged to do another printing, but it was a tremendous amount of work because I did it all myself. And I did it because I wanted to raise money for charity. I lost my beautiful wife to the Alzheimer's disease, and I'm a fundraiser for that, and I wanted the book to contribute to dementia care. So rather than go through the same amount of work that they required for the book, I decided to do the audio version, which I'm hoping will be easier to handle and to distribute than the actual book.
So now, have you seen the audio version? Is it on a disc, or how's that?
I drove to Kamloops from Penticton here 10 days ago, and I listened to the initial version before they put it to press.
Right.
So help me, I was in Kamloops before I realized that's how good it is. If I had a choice, personally, having lived it and written it, I would prefer to listen to the audio. It is nothing short of great.
So you do a lot of these public appearances since 1955, and I'm sure you're not the only member of the gold medal team that's still around, but what are the common questions you get asked? I'm sure you hear the same handful of questions all the time.
Well, what was it like to play hockey at that time? And
right.
As a goaltender, of course, you're always asked about, what were you thinking about playing that game without a face guard?
Right.
That sort of thing. What was hockey like in those days as compared to today?
Right.
And one of the questions I get is, why has the legacy of the Penticton V's lasted as long as it has when other world championships have, quite frankly, been forgotten?
Great question.
I think one of the reasons was, at the time that we won that world championship, we had to bring it back to Canada for the very first time. Canada had been embarrassed by Russia the year before, and Russia was, quite frankly, a hated nation as well as hated in the hockey world. And for us to go over there from a small town in Western Canada that no one had ever heard from, and this team that had won a national championship had to go over to Russia and bring back, against all odds, and everyone, so many people in the pundits and the experts in the hockey world at that time said, this is a terrible choice. These guys are simply not good enough. Well, history shows that we were, and that's one of the reasons that the Penticton V's legacy is out there particularly across Western Canada today.
So how many games would you have played in your career?
Well, with the Penticton V's, you mean?
Yeah.
396 games in a Penticton V's uniform.
Wow. So over how many seasons is that?
That would have been over 6 seasons.
6 seasons. And you got a shutout in the Canada game against Russia?
Yes. Our record, I'm going to say ours, the team record rather than my own, was we played an 8-game tournament and we registered 4 shutouts in the 8 games.
Wow.
And we only allowed 6 goals, we, a team, for a goals against average of .075, which has yet to be beaten.
Wow.
And of course shut out Russia resoundingly in the final day, winning it 5-0.
My goodness. You have a replica jersey with you. Can you maybe just pull that out so we can get a look at what this is identical to what you would have worn in that game?
That's right.
All right, so let's see what that looks like. Just let me, yeah, there we go. So it's got the Canada flag on it, and those were the colors, red, white, and blue.
That's right.
And you want to turn that around just so we can see it. I know that this is a special edition. It's got the number 55 on it, and it's actually signed by yourself, 1955 world champions, and that's actually going to be offered as a prize at an upcoming event here in Princeton that we'll talk about later in a different venue. But I wanted to get back to your book. Again, you said it's a fundraiser for your favorite charity, and you better talk about your charity a little more.
Well, actually, what we're doing here for the Princeton hockey team, the funds, anything that we generate here will go to the team.
Yes.
But the book, getting back to the book, any funds that are left over after we pay our costs will be donated to dementia care.
All right. I really want to thank you for spending a few minutes with us, Ivan, and it's a thrill for me to meet a world champion hockey player, and you have no idea how important it is for you to come and put your support behind our local hockey team, because I know over the years our team has had some struggles, and just having guys like you come around and give them a hand just I think endorses the program here and gives the junior team that little extra boost. So I really appreciate you coming.
From my standpoint, it's aside from being a pleasure to be able to do it, it's kind of nice for me, because this is exactly where I came from. I came from a small mining town in northern Ontario. Just a kid with patches in the back of his pants, and went on and did some things in life. and to be able to be here is really quite a pleasure. Really quite a pleasure.
Excellent. Thanks again, Ivan. Appreciate your time.
Yep.